Hi, Jesse.
Hi, Jen.
How are
How
you
you
doing?
doing? We've had a week. I feel like we've basically lied for the last month based on everything that's changed this week.
I know.
Oh my God. How are you?
I'm better this week than I was last week.
That's always good.
Mhm.
I I guess I could say I am too.
You most definitely are. This is your
So
last episode before baby.
I know this is my last episode. Well, yeah, unless we can fit in one more. So let's give him a little update. We're not even going to do highs and lows. We're just going to jump in because this is just kind of like what are we going to call this? The great
The
pivot?
great pivot
Because this is
because
weird.
everything flipped upside down in the last week.
Everything flipped upside down. That's like the story of our lives ever since I met Jen. Maybe it's your fault. Just kidding.
Maybe it's you because it's been like this for me since I met you.
I'm kidding. All right. So, Jen, what happened last time we spoke? Not we, but last time we were doing a podcast, you were about to be on your way to Portland.
Sure was. So that's why all my highs and lows are just jumbled for the week.
Yeah.
Um, so we were supposed to go to Portland. It's my first trip since March of 2020. Emmy, as I mentioned, transitioned into daycare
Hmm.
and it's her third week and she came down with RSV. She's totally
Hmm.
fine, but came down with RSV. We didn't know she had RSV. I thought it was an allergy cold.
Hmm.
And she woke up the morning of our trip and looked terrible.
Hmm.
Matt, being the better parent, said we should stay home. I said, I'm sure she'll be fine. Um, because I thought it was like an allergy cold where you wake up and you don't look very good and you feel like crap for the first like
Yeah,
half
but then
hour and then you're fine.
yeah, 2 hours later you're good.
Yes. And that was not the case. So like as the morning went on, she just looked kind of worse and worse. And when we called
Hmm.
her in sick to school, they said RSV had been going around. So we decided to take her to
Hmm.
the doctor right away. And lo and behold, she had it and we canceled our trip. And I cried lots of tears and looked like Britney Spears with a shaved head because I was so mad that we were not going.
As you should have been. That's fair. I feel like that was a big letdown.
It was pretty awful. Like I've been looking forward to one thing and it was this trip.
Yeah. And also
Um,
it's like it wasn't like the end of your madness. It was
no,
like a pause in your madness,
yes.
because you're moving in a couple, you know what I mean? Like I think that was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
So the
maybe
good
it hit
news
me
is we
hard too.
found a
No, but I
house.
felt really bad.
Yeah, and the good news is we found a house. And that's actually partially how this whole conversation came up. Jesse and I were talking about how this year has been an endless pivot. And in the last week, we have completely blown up our childcare plans
Hmm.
again. And I know that there are so many other moms in this boat. And I also know that your childcare plans blew up in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
Um,
I feel like I almost like scared you into like blowing up your plans a bit. To give some background there. So I don't even know what week it is, what date is when this all happened, but what last Sunday, not this week, but the week before last Sunday,
mhm.
we got an email from Teddy's school that someone in his class had tested positive for COVID. And so he had to be out for 14 days. Um, which is, not exactly what you want to hear when you're wrapping up your
No.
work before maternity leave. Like I was 36ish weeks pregnant and then like going into like, so that would have been like 36, 37 slash 37, 38. I can't remember. But yeah, so I'm like, I've been wrapping up all of our work. This was like the last like, before 38 by 38 weeks, I feel like we were like, okay, that's definitely red zone for me.
Right.
Like baby could come any day, but like we were just kind of like, getting through all the work until then. And then of course they're like, okay, well, he has to stay home for 2 weeks. So all of a sudden we didn't have childcare for 2 weeks, which is a long time.
It's a very long time.
It's a very long time. It's even longer when you're like very pregnant and like just need to be horizontal because,
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle's wonderful, but like he also works full time. Like we both work full time from home. And so it's just like trying to balance and trying to make sure that we get all of our work done. And I mean, he's in the same boat where he's trying to finish up all of his work before paternity leave. And so we got thrown back into this balancing act.
I like to call it pandemic parenting.
Yes, pandemic parenting. Luckily, my sister lives here and has a flexible schedule, so she's able to help a ton, and has been helping, but it's still just not ideal for anyone.
No.
Um,
You kicked off
so
the
yeah,
shitstorm and then I just dialed it up.
yeah, it's just been crazy. So anyway, I think Jen was like that's just gonna kind of be our reality, I think. Knock on wood, hopefully not too often and hopefully not at all. But that's kind of you're rolling the dice there when they're in daycare right now, that like when they have a COVID test, that's just policy that they have to be out for 14 days.
Right.
If they were in close contact. So yeah. So yeah, we've had a toddler home and he will be home until next Monday.
And why is that timing important, Jesse?
When I will also have a second child. It's funny because you might be thinking, well, you don't know that you're going to have a second child.
Oh, but
so
we
this
do.
Is like curveball number 17 that we got thrown this week. So it's funny because it's like a weird overlap of our lives, I feel like.
Yes.
So I think you talked about this actually last time, when we talked about our maternity leave episode, or when we spoke about maternity leave on our first episode, I think it was. You talked about how last time at 38 weeks you went in because your hands were itching. Was it your hands or your feet? I keep forgetting.
It was my feet.
Okay, so Jen had like itchy feet. No, it's also funny because I'm on the same schedule that Jen was her first pregnancy.
Correct.
Emmy, when's Emmy's birthday?
So her birthday she ended up coming early. She was due October 3rd.
Oh, okay.
But she came towards the end of September.
Yeah. Okay. So we had like very similar due dates. Like,
yeah, it's like off by 2 weeks.
Right. And so when I say on the same schedule, like, I don't know, pregnant people will understand this, but like, like same seasonal schedule.
Yeah.
And so like Jen's been giving me her tips for like, being pregnant in August heat and yada, yada. But like this time she was like, yeah, I thought I was like, my hands were just swelling and itchy. Like your hands get swollen and it's like, it's not comfortable. And like
everything swells at the end.
Yeah. And like, everything's like uncomfortable. I don't know, like your skin's dry. I don't know. It's just everything. And so it's funny because she talked about that and we've talked about that a couple times randomly. And she was like, yeah, so I went in at 38 weeks and they told me to go straight to the hospital. Now, I don't even know if you ever told me like what it was. It's cholestasis, which is what they were worried about. And so I called Jen like last Friday and was like, so weird thing. I thought a mosquito had gotten in our car. This is like so random, but this has totally happened to me before. Mosquitoes really like me. I thought a mosquito had gotten in our car and like down under the steering wheel and just like bit me like 42 times.
Yeah.
Like I'm not looking at my feet much these days because it's kind of hard to see them over this very large belly. And so I was just like scratching for the last, a couple of days before. And then I was sitting on my bed and I realized I had no mosquito bites. Like I was just scratching, like my feet just itched. I was like, God, that's so weird. And I was like, that's even weirder because Jen had that thing last time where she had itchy feet or itchy hands. And I was like, let me call Jen and see like what that was. And so I called Jen and Jen's like, yeah, call your doctor right now.
I also dropped the F word, but yes.
She was like, make sure your hospital bag is packed. Now I was 36 weeks.
Well, the only reason I said, I always come off as the one who's just too over prepared, but I said, is your hospital bag packed? Because there's a chance that they won't let you go home.
Right. Well, which is what happened to you. Like you went to the and
Yes.
you were like, cool, I'm going to go home and grab stuff. And they're like, no, you're not. You're
Yeah,
going to the
and my bag was
hospital.
not packed.
Right.
Like I had like some stuff set aside, but I don't know about you. I keep a very low inventory of maternity clothing.
Yes.
And so there was like, leggings and things that I would just put in the bag.
Yeah.
I was
That you were going to
actively
put
wearing
in.
them. Yeah.
I feel the same, like packing like makeup and toiletries. Like I'll pack
Right.
them, but not until the last, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so anyway, I go in to get tested and um that was on Friday. Not again, I still wasn't really like thinking that much of it. I was like, I could have it, could not. It wasn't like crazy. Again, it felt like mosquito bites. But also important to know, like, I feel like no one, if Jen, if you hadn't told me about this, I probably would have totally never even thought twice. Maybe over the weekend,
Well,
the
so
itching got
that's why I
really
went in
bad.
at 38 weeks with it. Cause I remember being at my 38-week appointment. I was like, oh, yeah, I know this is so weird. I'm sure it's swelling and it's just one of those pregnancy things,
Yeah.
but my feet are itchy. And then I knew I hit a trigger because she asked me 17 times about itchy hands and itchy feet.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was kind of like, whatever. But then, yeah. And I just, I wish they would like tell you that that could be a symptom of something
Hmm.
because, again, it's not like the itching got really
Well,
bad
I
over
don't
the
think it's
weekend. And
that
my
common.
hands,
I think it's pretty weird that you and I
it's,
both had it.
I do. Yeah. It does seem like from what I've read, it's pretty rare. But it's fun. Actually, today my doctor was like, yeah, there's this one girl that like keeps coming in and like she swears she has it. And like, I'm like, no, you need some lotion. You just
Yeah.
like have dry feet. She's like, we've tested her like 3 times. But anyway, so yeah, I got the test back over the weekend and it said I had it, which I didn't talk to my doctor immediately, but I had a friend of a friend who was an OB and he was basically like, yeah, you'll probably get induced at 37 weeks. And lo and behold, Monday morning, they were like, cool, yeah, so you do have it and we will be inducing Friday.
Here we
so
go.
so baby, they're like, cool, baby's coming Friday. So again, I'm not even 37 weeks yet. So I'm kind of like, cool, we have a date. And we're like pushed everything back a little bit, made sure everything like we can, I don't know, sign out this week. Kyle and I like we kind of like piled all of his meetings. I'm like making sure all my client work is done. And then today I went in and had just like my 36-week appointment, which was a little bit late, but basically they checked for like dilation at this point, because especially because I'm being induced. I think usually they wait till 37 to start checking, but because they're inducing me on Friday, she's like, let's see where it is, because she also wanted to prepare me if I had to have the balloon, which is like
The
dun,
worst thing
dun,
ever.
dun. Yeah, everyone says it's like the absolute worst. Actually, who was it? Someone on Instagram was just like complaining about it the other day, and she was like, "It is so painful," and like
Yeah, it
freaking
was
out. And I was like,
like
"Oh, great."
it was terrible.
They're manually like dilating you. I mean, it's pretty awful.
Yeah.
Um,
And a resident
so
did mine, and it took her 3 times.
oh, ouch. Yeah. So my
But you
doctor was
won't
like,
need that.
well, yeah. Well, so my doctor was like, I'm not optimistic that you won't need it. And I was like, okay, let's see. And she like checked and she's like, oh, wow, you were like 4 centimeters dilated, which is pretty far, like, especially for 36 weeks. That's kind of crazy. So yeah, basically baby's head is right there. He is ready to come. And she told me, don't have high hopes of making it to Friday. And watch for my water breaking because I might be having a baby like any second now.
Oh my gosh.
So here we are. Maybe my water will break during this episode.
Oh, that would be memorable.
No, let's not have that happen. I feel like Kyle would. It's like it just keeps getting pushed back. But yeah, so that's where we are. And I will definitely have a baby by next Monday.
Yeah, you sure will. And Teddy will be going back to school.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. I'm a little bit like worried just with daycare and everything and just a bunch of 2-year-olds because they're just kind of gross anyway. Not in a mean way. They're just
Yeah,
toddlers. And just him coming home and the baby not having an immune system for the first few weeks.
right.
So I'm hoping that like because it's summer and stuff, I know everything. I know it's like everything's getting bad again, but I don't know.
Good news is his classroom will be very clean.
This is true. Yeah, and also all the kids will, knock on wood, have been like home for the last 2 weeks, so
Right.
and tested and yeah. So yeah, here we go. Ready or
And
not, here this baby comes.
and so we on the flip side completely blew up our childcare plans in the last
Yeah.
week.
Right, because you guys decided to change and get Emmy out of daycare completely.
We did, but it fell like a domino. It wasn't the end goal wasn't actually taking her out of daycare.
Mhm.
And then one domino fell and hit the other. So, I mean, just the last time we recorded, we were talking about transitioning back into daycare.
Right.
And I spent a whole day planning out her going to daycare where we're staying with my parents. And we
Mhm.
found a new home and we got her registered for a new school to go to
Yep.
2-year-old preschool.
Mhm.
I don't think I've shared that she'd be going to 2 different schools, but anyways, very excited about all of that. And she, well, Teddy actually was the catalyst to it.
Mhm.
So when Teddy's school closed for 14 days, it just planted the seed in my head. I was like, oh God, I don't know if I can go through a winter season of this with like a newborn at home.
Totally. No, and that makes sense. And also, like, you've got a lot coming up on your plate besides just having a baby. You're moving into a new house. Like, there's so much. And that's
Yeah.
what I mean. That's what I was saying. Like, your chaos isn't stopping. I don't mean to remind you, but like, I think your chaos isn't stopping anytime soon.
Yes. And Matt and I are stacking our maternity and paternity leave.
Hmm.
So I wasn't going to pull her out of daycare because Teddy had an exposure in his class. That wasn't it. But it got me
Right.
thinking. And then I got the handbook for her new school, and they have, which most schools do, or a lot do, I should say, they have a 72-hour fever free policy. And Emmy is a fever kid. Like when
Yeah.
she gets sick, she gets a fever. And so I was like, oh
Hmm.
my God. Because she's been out of school for 18 months and she was sick 4 out of the 9 days that she was going to daycare. So I
And
expected
72 hours is
anytime,
short. I
once
mean, it's a
any
long time. I'm sorry. It's a long time to have to be out fever free.
right. And I watched it with Teddy and I expect it to happen no matter when she goes back to school. She'll be sick the first 2 months or so.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're just adjusting back. I mean,
That's
they've
just
been
how
in
it
bubble.
goes. So I was fully prepared for that. But then I started thinking through, oh my God, I'm going to be home with a newborn. And then if she has a fever and she's home with me for 72 hours straight, and
Yeah.
Matt can't really help because he's saving his time for paternity leave and it's Chicago winter,
Right.
this is just a
Oh, when you
recipe
say
for,
stacking, you mean you're going to take it and then Matt's going to take his.
yeah. So we're not
Gotcha.
doing it together. We'll take the first two
Okay.
weeks together, but other than
Yep.
that, I'll go, then he'll go.
Okay.
And so I could just see the storm brewing.
Totally.
So that got me thinking, but I felt selfish about that thought. I felt like I would be pulling her out of school if that were the
Huh.
case. Um, so anyways, I let it be and Matt saw the cases are rising a bit and whatnot and was like, we could revisit plans. I was like, no, we figured it out. Well, then Emmy came home with RSV and we learned that you can get RSV again and again. It's not
Hmm.
like a one-time thing. And so then I was like, oh my gosh, now what the RSV was luckily it was not a big deal for her.
Hmm.
But if your child's under 18 months, it can be a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, gosh, now what if you know, we get into the RSV soup again and we've got a newborn? Like this just gets dicey much faster.
Right. RSV can land like a newborn in the hospital. Not, I don't think it's like life threatening, but it can be scary.
Right. Well, they can go to the ICU.
Yeah.
Um, so anyways, then it became okay, well, let's pull her out of her new school, which we haven't officially
Hmm.
done yet, but let's pull her out of her new school and get a nanny. Luckily, my sister-in-law is actually going to be moving just a mile or two away
Hmm.
to our new house. And so we're actually going to do a nanny share with them. And Emmy and her cousin are only 3 months apart. So that part's
That's great.
perfect. She gets the socialization. We'll
Yep.
find the nanny, and then a nanny can help with the baby because we only
Hmm.
get 4 weeks of maternity leave ish.
Mhm.
So all of that fixes
Ish.
it. But once that domino fell, it was like, well, do we really want her paying her dues in daycare for 2 months? Is there a
Right,
point?
where you're just getting sick over and over
Yeah,
again.
like she's going to continue to get sick because that's what happens.
Mhm.
Do we want to keep doing that? And we decided to pull her out of daycare now. And we're pandemic parenting the next 7 weeks.
7 weeks is a long time.
That is a long time. So let me tell you a really short story that I think is imperative to this conversation.
Mhm.
Matt and I ran a half marathon together like 6 years ago.
Did you?
Yes, see, this is surprising because I am not a runner.
Why haven't I heard this before?
Because I'm not a runner. I'm glad you agree. Anyways, so we ran a half, we did the Lululemon Seawees half marathon, and I'm not a
Mhm.
runner and I trained for the race. I had only gotten as far as, I don't know, 7 or 8 miles out of the 13.
Okay.
And the race was in Canada, so everything was in kilometers. This is important to the story. Oh, the race was in kilometers, so I decided to run with my Nike running app and track.
Okay.
And so I thought we were at mile 12 and we turned the corner and there was a marker on the ground. And it turns out we were only at mile 10.
Oh, that's awful.
And I thought there was 1 mile left when there was 3. And I cried the last 3 miles of the race. I now feel like I thought I was at mile 12
Oh my God.
and I am actually at mile 10. After we
That's
blew
awful, Jen.
after we blew up all of our childcare plans, I waited until I was alone and I just started sobbing. And Matt
Oh
came
my
upstairs and he
God.
was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "No, I feel like it's mile 10 of the Lululemon
Mile 10 again.
marathon. I don't know how I'm gonna get to the finish line." So I mean, I know that we will get there, but yeah, I'm now starting to hit the stage of pregnancy where I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
We've got 7 weeks ahead of us of trading off schedules. You're on maternity leave. We don't have a house. My child sleeps wherever she feels like sleeping. We're attempting to potty train. I mean, literally everything's on fire. So I know that we will get there, but I have a feeling I'm going to go limping into labor and delivery.
Oh my God. You know what the other thing I was wondering? Again, I probably shouldn't put this on you, but there's like reoccurrence of cholestasis. I wonder if they're gonna
Yeah, I don't know.
be
I should ask my
monitoring
doctor
you.
that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It can reoccur. I mean, the good news is I know what it feels like.
Right. No, I mean it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Honestly, yeah. It
No,
would be fine, but just
I
interesting.
mean, the crib would be if I had to get that balloon again. Oofta.
Oh yeah. I feel like the balloon is not as common. I'm totally making this up, but not as
No,
common
it's
in
not
just like
because
this
many people are
time.
at least a little dilated.
Right. Your body like knows what to do. It's like, oh, okay, cool. We're ready.
Yeah, mine was like, no, it was completely not dilated, not a
I
phase.
was I was dilated like 3 centimeters for weeks last time.
Oh no, I mean, I had nothing.
Yeah,
When
that's
they did my
ouch.
first check, I jumped off the table. I swear to God, like it was like her arm was in there up to her elbow. It was so uncomfortable. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't even handle the check. There's no way I'm going to make it through labor and delivery.
Oh my God. It's so funny because today I was like, again, the first checks are always harder because it's like, I don't know, and everything is
I think
like
I
generally like,
squealed.
yeah. And so I was like bracing myself today, like, and then like she like got up and she's like, oh wow, the baby's like right here. And I was like, oh, I was like ready for it to like really hurt and her to
Yeah.
have to like check, and she's like, no,
It's
you're
also
like,
weird that you don't know that. I mean, you have said the whole time that he felt low,
yes.
but it's like weird that you don't know you're dilated. Like four
I
centimeters is a
know.
decent amount.
I agree. And it's funny because like I think I think I'm being dramatic, and Kyle also thinks I'm being like, I swear it's like he feels like he's coming out. So like recently he's just felt like so low. Like I can feel him in my hips, or like he'll move and like hit something and I'm like, oh my God, it's like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm delivering a baby.
Yeah.
And Kyle's like, what? Are you seriously going to labor? I'm like, no, I'm just being extra. Like, don't mind me. But
Yeah.
now I'm like, no, seriously, I might like this baby is really low. I'm glad I got some validation that I really am carrying a little baby. Yeah, he's doing whatever he wants to do. That's what I don't know. I'm interested to see his personality. It's interesting because he's also a Virgo like Emmy.
Yeah. Godspeed.
I know. He's like, I'm coming early. That's it.
Emmy's new thing is she puts her hand up and she tells me to be patient.
Be patient.
Yeah. I'm supposed to wait for her to finish whatever she's doing. Be patient, mom.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see. I just think it's funny because I feel like oftentimes the way kids come into the world like shows a lot about their personality. Everyone
Yeah,
says
she
that.
she came out screaming at the top of her lungs. I will never forget the doctor being like, now don't panic. A lot of babies come out and they are silent. It takes them a minute to catch their breath. And I was like, okay. And she was like one or two more pushes and she'll and the baby will be out. We didn't know if it was a boy or girl. I mean, Emmy popped out like on fire, like, wow. I mean, she was screaming at the top of her lungs, absolutely screaming. I mean, she was just ready to burn it down. And that completely describes her personality.
That is so funny. Yeah, I'm like just interested. It's just funny. He's like, who's ready to go? It's just like such a
Yeah.
Virgo thing. Like, I don't know. Teddy was just chilling in there, hanging out whenever I induced him. This kid's like, all right, I'm ready to go. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
That's more
Like,
Kyle, correct?
yeah. Kyle's more on time. I'm just a little more laid back, you know? Take things
Yeah.
as they come. Just a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
so it should be interesting. But yeah, like, I don't know. We pivot a lot. We do
We
a
pivot a
lot of
lot.
pivoting.
Yeah.
But you know, like, I don't know. I do think we planned really well where we're able
Well, we
to.
did because if we didn't plan this well, your maternity leave didn't actually really rock us too hard.
No, yeah, and
I
that's
mean, the
what like
fact that you're going like 3 weeks early.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's not crazy. It's not like, oh shit. Like it's just kind of like, oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
this is interesting. But yeah, I don't know. We did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think you'll be calmer once once I'm gone. Not me, but like once I'm like into
Oh,
it and over it, because I think it's just like this impending
I
doom.
mean, selfishly speaking, I'm thrilled that we have like a set date.
Yeah, no, right. Because it's like it's not just this like up in the air, could happen tomorrow, could happen in 3 weeks, you know, like just
Yeah,
complete. Yeah, it's nice.
absolutely. Yeah. Because we've been, trying to balance work and all that other stuff, and it just makes it
Yeah,
a bit more defined.
yeah.
And then we can,
Love a plan.
I like milestones. There's nothing wrong with milestones.
How are you feeling about getting ready for the move and everything? Are you getting excited yet or
I am. I just bought because furniture lead times are like 7 years. I just
Mhm.
bought a few more pieces to our sectional couch so
That's
that we
exciting?
can we can make like a nice L-shaped couch. And speaking of you love a plan, to help myself feel better about the pandemic parenting and the ups and downs, I just bought a paper planner.
That's nice. I love a paper planner, especially in back to school times.
It just, it helps me feel settled. I can write my thoughts down and figure out what I'll be accomplishing because we'll be going back to the working in 15 to 2 hour spurts
Yeah.
over the next
Yeah.
couple weeks. And the other good news is that I don't want to jinx it, but we found a really great nanny lead that I am super pumped about.
That's super exciting because that could be really stressful. And I feel like you deserved that.
She like kind of fell right into our lap, and Matt's like, this feels too good to be true. I was like, really? I feel like I've been dragged behind a car for the last year, so this feels like good karma.
Like, this feels like I deserve it.
Yeah, I actually disagree. I feel like I deserve one easy win. Um,
I'm just thinking of you as like the tin cans behind like a wedding car, just like
oh, 100%.
just-
So we're still kind of finalizing everything and trying to figure it out, but it seems very promising, so I'm hopeful for that.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and the fact that Emmy would be with her cousin on a daily basis is pretty cool.
Yeah.
They've been
It's
overseas
nice
for a
because it's
couple
like
years.
it's nice because it's not only her cousin, but it's like socialization. You know, it's a nice
100%. I at
not
first
just her.
I was crying that we were pulling her out of school, and I just felt I think a lot of moms are in this place where you just feel like you're not being the best mom because our choices, like our options are not the best at the
Right. It's
moment.
like which half of the shit sandwich?
Right. Um, so I felt terrible pulling her out of school, even though I know it's for her health. It just, I know she's also ready. She's
Right.
ready to socialize. She's excited about that.
Yeah.
So it'll be great if she'll be with her cousin
Yeah.
almost all week. And if this nanny works out, she's happy to help with the baby. It feels like things could really fall into place.
Good. Good. I'm so excited. I'm excited to come see your new house too.
I mean, I can't wait to sleep in my own bed. It will have been 6 months by the time I sleep in
That's
my own bed.
crazy. You keep saying that. And I'm like, oh my God, that's yeah.
6 months of living out of
Be in your own
suitcases.
space.
Yeah, I my entire pregnancy will have been in like other people's beds.
Yeah. And also like partially, mostly so far in an Airbnb that you hated, which sucks.
Yeah, and not with my stuff. I mean, getting our stuff will feel like Christmas.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you just haven't been. I mean, even if you have like a good portion, not a good portion, but like, you know, you haven't plenty to make it work. But like,
But we're
I feel
living
like
like
at the beginning,
minimalists. I mean,
yeah,
Matt and I each have, I think, 2 suitcases of clothes.
yeah,
I have my backpack full of my work stuff
hmm,
and one of those large Lululemon bags and a couple of books. That's all I have.
yeah. That's
I
not
could
very
be
much.
living in a hostel for all you know with how many how much I have.
Oh my gosh,
And now all
I'm
the time,
excited.
poor Emmy. Mom, where's Chicka Chicka Boom Boom? Is it in storage? I'm like, oh gosh,
Storage.
you poor thing. Yes, it's in storage.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Oh God. Well, 7 weeks, right? That's the countdown.
Yeah. 7 weeks till the new house, 7 hours until baby Bernhardt.
I was gonna say 7 hours until I give birth. No, no, no. Let's not. Pray that I just
Um,
have like not. I think like one of my biggest fears is like having a baby like on my bathroom floor.
you won't.
I know,
I will
but
tell you though, because like I remember being stressed out about something like that when I was pregnant, being stressed with the move. And I have to tell you, I hate when people say to me, but it's all good change. That doesn't mean that it's not hard.
totally. Yeah, that's actually like one of the most annoying things you can say to someone. Like,
Yeah. Like I'm like, yeah, I know there's a house coming and there's a baby coming. We're super pumped about that.
yeah,
That doesn't
absolutely.
make that doesn't mean that it's fun being homeless for 6 months.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like when you're in the first trimester, like throwing up over a toilet, and someone's like, but it's worth it. And it's like, well, no shit. But
Right.
like, that's not helpful right now.
Right.
Like,
Like that's what I don't need to hear. I don't need toxic positivity. Like we can have bad
right.
days and still march toward good things.
Exactly. Well, we will be here marching towards good things.
Yeah, but this might be the last episode before his
I know
arrival.
before, and I will have a baby by the time this is up,
Exactly.
which is crazy.
Yeah. All right, well, we should probably wrap this up before you give birth. So where can the people find you?
The people can find me at Jessie B. Bernhardt on Instagram, and my blog is jessiebarnesbernhardt.com. And probably a baby announcement coming pretty soon. And you guys, it'll be up by the time this episode's up. Where can the people find you, Jen?
They can find me at jennay.com. That's JENNAYE. I'm at jen.nay on Instagram. And they can find the Marketing Greenhouse at themarketinggreenhouse.com or at the Marketing Greenhouse on Instagram.
Yeah, and keep an eye out because we have our website relaunching. Kelly Etz is doing the design and we're super excited. I don't know. I think that'll be sometime next month, but yeah, we'll announce it on Instagram and everything.
Yeah. And if you
And
enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review. You can leave
yeah,
us a review at Apple Podcasts.
that means so much. All right, guys, wish me luck.
You can do it. We'll see you soon.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.